morning. This is Teresa Harm, and I wanted to talk about or show you some places where you could go to get various company financial information. Public companies have requirements to file 10Ks, 10Qs. 10Qs are on a quarterly basis, and 10Ks are the annual filings. And all public companies' information is out there. You can get copies of their 10Qs, copies of their 10Ks, and other various filings that they're required to submit to the SEC. So this is just a summary of when those companies, the size of them, you have large accelerated filers, you have accelerated filers, and non-accelerated filers. So right now, if you were to go out to the Edgar site, all you would see would be the quarterly information from the third quarter filing, because the 10Ks aren't necessarily due yet. Some of our large accelerated filers throughout the month of February, you'll start to see their submissions come in. If you have an accelerated file with 75 million to 700 million, they have 75 days. And then your filers who are less than 75 million actually have 90 days. So if you look at this, you think about, well, the really big companies have to get their numbers in very early, and then the mid-range companies, they have 75, they have 15 more days, and then your smaller companies actually have 90 days. So you can see this right here. It's just, for your information. It's interesting information. So if you're out there looking for somebody and you don't see their filing yet, you're like, oh, they're late. No, they're not. It's just due to the size of their company. So the first place that we can go to for this type of information is the SEC site, and this is also called Edgar. So I've attached the link here, and I'm going to toggle over to that just so that you can see what the screen looks like. And here you can search for various company filings. Again, these are public companies, publicly traded companies, so you're going to find larger companies like AIG, you're going to find Coke, you're going to find IBM, you can find Boeing, all these companies that are out there that are traded. So what you can do is, and like I said, I will toggle over to this in a second, but you would enter the company's trading code. So example, we would enter AIG. That's AIG's tickler code that's out there on the SEC. You can there read recent articles, various news pieces that were published. Sometimes they'll show their financial PR statements, their press releases, etc. So you would choose your filings on Edgar, then you would find your 10K or the report that you want to read. And on the list, you would go to the 10K item, and then you'll see that there's a PDF. And again, I'll go through this in a second. You can also see their 10Ks, their 10Qs. Again, 10Qs are your quarterly filing, 10Ks are your annual filing. Since the year just ended again, you won't see anything for 2015. So for your analysis, you can just use the 2014 information. Or if you want to take a look at the Q3 information, that's out there too. So let's toggle over. So when you click on the link that I have here in the PowerPoint, this is the screen that should come up. So you can go to what's called a fast search. And what you can do is you can type in AIG. You click search, and then the screen will come up as well. So you can see all the various reports. So they've submitted different proxies for different rules that they have. They have 8Ks that are out there. All of these are various filings that are required by public companies as different types of transactions occur. So you can go in and you can read those if you like. Then you'll see here's their quarterly report for the 10Q. So I would click on Documents right here, and then you'll see the 10Q. And if you click on this document right here, or that link, this is their company 10Q. So you can go in there and you can read that. Depending on your particular configuration on your computer, you can download this. These 10Qs and 10Ks are quite large. A lot of times you'll see that you have your table of contents, and if you click on any of these particular areas, you'll be taken right to that report. So they're going to talk about the various notes. They give you their cautionary statements. You can just toggle down and see the different information that's available. So you're going to want to, the most important parts here are you're going to go to your management discussion and analysis, where they're telling their stockholders what their, what's happened in that quarter, what's happened in that year, what's important, some of their critical accounting estimates. They talk about, you can see here, AIG's talking about their risk management, what their regulatory environment's looking like, what their reserves are looking like, the results of their various operations. AIG is a pretty large company, so they have different business units, so they're going to give information about those different business units. They'll give an executive overview, and then they talk about, just some of their different accounting principles. If you toggle down in here, you can see various exhibits and financial information. So if you just go through here, you can see that they're talking about, they show a comparative. So they're going to show, here's the third quarter compared to the year end 2014. So that's where I say, when you're looking at the information, you may just want to go out to the 10K for 2014, because then you'll get a full year view. And this is where you can look at the various information. So this one here, this is showing their balance sheet. So there's their assets and their liabilities. And just so for your general information, you'll notice that assets equal total liabilities and equity. You can see that in real life, right? You can go down here to their consolidated income statement. So you can see that they have their revenues. They're going to show just the 3 months, and then they'll show their 9 months ending. So you can see their premiums, their total revenues. Then they have their benefits, their losses, their expenses, their various expenses, and then you can see their particular income. So let's see what's AIG doing. So it looks like AIG had a loss for 3 months, just for 3 months, but for the 9 months they do have net income, but it is lower than the prior year. So what you would want to do is just take a look at some of these line items, what's going on, and then go over and read the management discussion and analysis to see, what's happening. Is there something happening in the business? Are losses higher? In this case, this is an insurance company. Or losses putting pressure on this particular net income, or in comparison to the prior year? Or are there certain expenses that are higher than the prior year? Or are there expenses that are lower? Revenue, is revenue down? So it looks like their premiums are down a little bit. So what's happening with premiums? Why are they losing premium year over year? In a company, you would expect to see revenues growing if the company is growing. Expenses, some questions that you might ask there are, why are expenses going up? Why are expenses dropping? Did they have a reduction in force? Are they doing something? Are they consolidating? Or on an upside, did they put in a new system that's making them more efficient? So that's how you would get through Edgar and get to the 10Ks. So let's go over to Morningstar. So here's a link to Morningstar. Morningstar is just another vehicle out there that has various information and presentations. In Morningstar, they give you some additional information out there, and they run some different calculations, and they're going to show you more articles. So let's jump over to Morningstar. So when you click on the link for Morningstar, you're going to get, this screen will come up. So you're going to have two different boxes up here. One is quote and one is search. If you go out to search and you just key in AIG, you're going to get a lot of different information. But what we want to do is we want to go into the quote box and just enter AIG. And what you'll see here is they'll bring up their current stock with the latest price, what happened in that particular day. You can chart the stock if you like. You can see what's been happening with the stock. It also gives you your different ranges, your day range, your 52-day range. They're going to give you some an analyst report for AIG. So you have various analysts that are all out there, and they're constantly looking at these companies, and they're giving their opinions on where they think things are going to go. You can see their stock price. I guess this week was not a very good week for just about any company in the stock market, but looks like AIG rebounded a little bit last night. You can visit and you can get over to the company's website via this link here. So that's interesting, or that might give you some additional information when you're looking at their websites. And then they give you some key statistics. So they'll give you some financials, and they'll also tell you who some of the competitors of those companies are. So when you're looking and you're doing your projects, and this is a nice site to go to see who competitors are for those companies, to see, you know, some high-level stock information, and to get some other data, and then to get links to the company's websites. Some of the tabs that I really like to use, if you go over to this financial tabs here, in this financial tab, this gives you some abilities, so you can do some different drill downs. So in this financial here, right now you have your choice. You can go to your income statement, your balance sheet, or your cash flow. So in your income statement here, you can also do some different drill downs. So you can do 5 years, you can do 10 years. You can show dates ascending or descending. You can do as reported, or if they were restated. So if a company had a restatement, you can also do quarterly or annual. So it's it gives you some flexibility. So what this is doing here, this is a 5-year view of their income statement, and you can see what's been happening with their premium. So it starts here, it's going ascending, so it's starting with 2010 and working its way up. You can see that it ends at 2014. The TTM here, I believe, is probably an estimate, or it is their third quarter results. So we'd have to go tie that back to see what they're reporting here. But I believe that this is their third quarter results. And then what we have, you can take a look and see, just what's going on. I would just go up to 2014 now until we're sure that everybody's results are in for 2015. You don't want to get confused. Different companies may be reporting different things here. So, just go to 2014 and just, you want to take a look at this and say, okay, what's popping out at you? Is there anything that's popping out? If you look at from 2010 to 11, their investment income looked like it's dropping here, but then it came back up. Did they sell something off? We know that AIG at that time was, the government had a lot of control over AIG at the time. So maybe what they did here is they sold off a lot of investments. I believe that they had paid off the government, but I think that was more or less in 2013. So you can see some investment income going up and down here. We might go and look at the MD&A to see what was written, what happened there. So you may have to go back to an old 10K for 2011 to see what was going on, to answer some of your questions. You realize capital gains and losses. They obviously had some investment losses here in 2010. And then, you look at their various expenses and what's going on there. So it looks like, they're trying to control their expenses a little bit. And if you read some recent press releases, you'll see that they do have a commitment to reducing expenses. And I think that they just had a recent layoff. So, you look at your interest expense. Doesn't look like they have any merger acquisition numbers, expenses in here. And then they have some other expenses. So other expenses, you may have to drill down. They may show you some additional information in the MD&A, or they may not. So, you may not get the answer to your question here, but it looks like their other expenses have been dropping as they've moved along. So you can take a look at that. You can also take a look at their balance sheets. And you can look at the balance sheet for the 5 years. And you're going to get a little bit more detail there. So you have your various assets. Do they have loans out there? Do they have short-term investments? What's their goodwill? Which this makes sense. They didn't really have any merger acquisition expenses, so they don't really have any goodwill out there. Do they have property and equipment? So AIG is an insurance company, so they really don't have a lot of equipment or that sort of assets. You have your liabilities. So this is where, your liabilities and what do they owe? And then your stockholders' equity. So you can take a look at those things and see what questions that you have. And then go back into the MD&A or to the company's website and see if you can get those answers. They also shows a cash flow report. And then you can go to the key ratio tabs, and then they'll give you some key ratios. So I'm going to hop over to Yahoo real quick. There is a link in the PowerPoint, but let me just hop over to Yahoo real fast. So if you click over to the Yahoo link,